Oh, the stock market, how interesting. Limit down, massive fall right into the open. We got to speak about what's going on here with the market, where this market's headed now at this point in time. A lot of people got baffled by the move here today. So we'll talk about that at the top of this video. I wanted to also talk about investing under Trump, because people got to understand we're playing a different game now at this point in time, and a lot of people don't get the game. So I'm going to explain that in this video here today, okay? Then I want to react to a few videos. Tom Lee went on CNBC this morning talking about, people are going to be way overplaying this whole situation and whatnot. And so then I thought we'd go the opposite direction with the next reaction. I want to react to this gentleman says the market should take tariffs more seriously. And then last up, obviously Palantir is going to be in focus in a big way today. Want to hear the mad dash around Palantir, which should be interesting. Okay, so a lot to go through. By the way, busy week. It's going to be a busy week here, folks. On the reaction channel, on the main channel, I got it's going to be a lot of content coming. So just get ready to rock and roll. I appreciate y'all for being here. I hope you appreciate me. All I need from you guys, smash that thumbs up button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We are now over 75,000 subscribers here on the reaction channel. We're on the way to my 5th silver play button. So I appreciate y'all for being here. Additionally, pinned comment down there is if you're looking to apply to join my private stock group and private wealth group, okay, and get access to all my best course curriculums, Discord chat, exclusive videos, all that good stuff, okay? So it was funny. I was talking on the phone with a friend last night, and we were talking about the market and all the craziness and whatnot, right? And I told him, watch what's going to happen. I told him the market's going to open bad. It's going to hit lows within the first 15 minutes of the market being open, and it's going to bounce back throughout the day. It is exactly what we saw play out, exactly down to a T. The market opened down. We hit those lows in the first 15 minutes, right? And then bounce back. And I just posted this on X just a bit ago. The public account is now green. People thought this account was going to be down $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 today. And it's green, folks. Like, that's insane. So let me explain how to invest under the Trump presidency right now for everybody watching this, because I understand not everybody was around for the first presidency. And so they don't understand all the games that are going on right now, okay? Let me put it like this right off the bat. Important I say this. Investing under Trump is a different animal. He's going to say a lot of things. He's going to do a lot of things. He's going to do a lot of shock and awe stuff. It's what comes with the territory with Trump, okay? And you have to be mentally prepared for that. It's just the way it is. He operates differently than, let's say, Biden did, right? Biden, you didn't hear anything for 4 years. Like, it was what it was. Even in 2022 when the market was crashing, right? You didn't hear anything. Then the market bounced back and had a great 23 and 24 under Biden and didn't hear anything. Like, it's just very, very quiet, right? Trump's not like that. Trump's going to be out there day in and day out. It seems like he has news conferences every single day. He's going to constantly be talked about every single day. There's going to be tariffs. There's going to be retaliation. There's going to be threats left and right. It's going to be coming from everywhere. That's the way he operates, okay? And that's just the way it is. And so you have to accept that as an investor. And so therefore, you cannot freak out every time Trump says something, does something, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a lot, man. And I'm telling you, for the next 4 years, it's going to be a lot. So you just have to chill, let it be. Was I selling any stocks in the open this morning? Zero. Not one share of anything I sold. Today was one of those days, if you wanted to sell, let all the noob sellers sell at that first 15 minutes of the market. They're all going to freak out, panic, oh my gosh, because they probably never even invested under Trump 1.0. They all freak out. You let them, and then you come in later in the day if you want to cash out any positions, then you can cash out. If you want to sell stocks then, go sell stocks then. But not in that first 15 minutes. When there's a panic situation, everybody's freaking out like that, let them be the sellers, right? Because there's always going to be buyers that step up when you get any of those major dips like that, right? And that's exactly what we saw play out. So that's the first thing I need to say here, okay? The next thing I'm showing you right now in front of you is from the time Trump won the presidency right here, right? First off, a lot of people thought if Trump, there was like a saying like, oh, if Trump wins, the market's going to crash, blah, blah, blah. Well, Trump won, and the market absolutely went on a tear for the next 15 months, right? From the time he won that election all the way through until about February of 2018, that stock market went absolutely beast. It was an incredible year, and you should have made some dang good money at that particular time. The market was booming, right? Then came 2018, and things got crazy. Early in 2018, we had a significant fall in the market. I mean significant. Year 2 of Trump's presidency was drama fest. The first year was just smooth sailing. It was like, oh, he's going to have pro-growth policies, tax cuts. Everybody's kind of looking at everything glass half full, right? Year 2, boom, got slapped right in the face and said, no, wake up. This is reality. And we had a major sell-off that lasted a couple months in early 2018. And then we had the late 2018 crash, which was vicious. I mean, absolutely brutally vicious. And you saw countless of the biggest companies in the world fall 20, 30, and 40% in a matter of like 2 or 3 months. It was dramatic, right? And we were actually on pace. I don't think a lot of people know this unless you watch my channel religiously or you're investing back at that time. And this is crazy because this dates all the way back to the Great Depression. We were on pace for the worst December in 2018 since the Great Depression. But then lucky enough, at the very end of December, the market came back a bit, so we avoided that whole situation. But the moral of the story is we were well over halfway through the month, and we were on pace for the worst December for the stock market since the Great Depression. That's how volatile it got. We went through that. That was what it was. So 2018, year 2 of Trump's presidency, was mayhem in the market. It was craziness, right? Then year 3 came. And guess what? Year 3 was smooth sailing. Yeah, we had some corrections and some dips here and there, but at the end of the day, year 3 under Trump was smooth sailing. And then year 4 came, and it was a complete drama fest. Now, to be fair, a lot of that obviously was Rona, right? That was a whole situation. But the moral of the story is 2 of Trump's 4 years as president were drama fests, and 2 years were pretty smooth sailing. Now, that does not mean the exact same thing is going to happen this presidency, where 2 years are going to be really good under Trump, and then 2 years are going to be a drama fest, right? But it could be. And I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happens. I would say at least 1 year under Trump is going to be a drama fest. At least 1 year. And so that doesn't mean you should leave the market or not invest or not buy the dip or any of those sorts of things. Just understand this is all going to be part of the game, right? Now, inflation, this is very important everybody understands this, right? Trump's going to be very inflationary. A very inflationary president, and it's not really even a debate. It's just going to be facts. Inflation was dead before Trump took office. I mean, dead. Completely dead. Like, for the longest time, coming out of the great financial crisis of 08-09, through those next many years, inflation was never a subject because it was dead. Like, the Fed was more worried about how do we get inflation than, like, inflation's a problem. That's how it was for the longest time, right? And obviously, Trump got into office, and, tariffs and all those things, they do become inflationary. And Trump, honestly, Trump got screwed and he got bailed out, right? Now, I'm always fair to everybody, right? So back when it was cool to hate on Trump in his first term, right? Mainstream media was hating on him, all those sorts of things. I was fair to Trump, and I just called it the way I see it, right? Like, here's what's going good, here's what's going bad. I never treated him like, crap, even though it was cool at that time to treat Trump like crap, right? Same thing with Biden. I understand everybody treats Biden like crap now. They make fun of him all the time, call him names, whatever, right? I'm fair to Biden. Like, he had his flaws when he was president. And some things, he did fine, and other things he got screwed with. So if I look at Trump in his first presidency, he got screwed by Rona. There's no doubt about that. He got screwed. Like, that's a tough situation. Worldwide economy has to shut down. That's pretty brutal, to go through as a president. So Trump got screwed. But Trump also got bailed out. That he did not stay president. Because that crazy amount of inflation we had under Biden, that would have happened under Trump as well. That wasn't like just avoided. You understand, all the seeds were planted before Biden took office. The inflation was already starting to skyrocket before he took office, right? We already had stimulus coming, and Trump wanted to do more stimulus. We had commodities go through an insane bull cycle. It didn't matter, who was president. They could have been the most genius business person in the history of the world. I don't care who we had running for the presidency. In 2021, 2022, we were getting slapped with major inflation. With all the stimulus they were doing, with what the Fed was doing, with commodities going through the biggest bull cycle we had ever seen for a 2-year period, across the board, anybody was going to get hit with, bad inflation, right? And so, but you got to understand, Trump's policies are going to be inflationary, so expect inflation. Over this next 4 years, we will have inflation. Is it going to go sky high like here? Probably not. because we're probably not going to have a commodities bull cycle, because you got to understand commodities completely crashed in the Rona crash, right? They reached the lows around April 2020. And then coming out of that for the next 2 years, they went through the most insane bull cycle we'd ever seen. And a lot of it was just getting back to normal. That's what it was, right? So this is very important. You're going to have inflation under Trump. You're going to have drama under Trump. But it doesn't mean you freak out and you panic and you're like, oh my gosh, Trump did this, Trump did that, Trump said this. It just is what it is. Accept it, man. Accept it. And invest for the next 4 years like you do under every single president, right? And the other thing I got to say about this, it kind of scared me how scared people got so quick. This was just a warm-up jog. In track back in the day, we used to do 2 warm-up laps. Then you do all your drills, and that'd be more tiring than the warm-up lap, and then you do your actual workout, right? Let's be very clear. What happened today is just a warm-up jog. You haven't seen anything yet. If today scared you, you're in a lot of trouble this next 4 years. Because I can tell you, it's going to get a lot crazier from here. We're going to have way bigger freakouts, way bigger panics, and way bigger sell-offs. So if today scared you, you need to do some soul searching or something, because I'm telling you, this was just the warm-up jog. We're so far from the workout, we're not even close, okay? We got a long way to go here. And we're going to have some dramatic moments for the market. And we're going to have some down and outs. We're going to go through some periods in the market where people are just like so anti-stock market. Like that's going to happen in the next 4 years. And there's going to be other times that people just have crazy FOMO and they want to buy every stock in sight. We're going to have all those feelings in the next 4 years. Understand that. And so this was a warm-up jog. This was I don't even know if this was the warm-up jog, honestly. This wasn't even the warm-up jog. This was like walking into practice. Like we haven't even gone on the warm-up jog yet. We walked into practice. We put our shoes on to get ready to do the warm-up jog. That's what today was. This wasn't even the warm-up jog. The warm-up jog's coming. Then we're going to have to do all our drills. And then we're going to have the workout. Okay? Understand that. Understand that. That's the stock market, okay? So, don't let days like today freak you out. Come on, man. Like, we got to be bigger than that. We gotta be bigger than that. Alrighty, let's go ahead and react to some videos here.
Unstrack Capital, as well as a CNBC contributor. And Tom, there's not a huge dip here. We're talking about declines of one.
Oh, and by the way, congrats to all the people that didn't freak out this morning. Like, give yourself a thumbs up for that. Congrats to all the people that were like, whatever, whatever's going to happen this morning. Congrats to you guys that were buying the dip and, that understood if you did want to sell positions, you sell later in the day, not at that open when everybody's going to be flooding to the gates to sell. Like, congrats to you guys that played it right.
% or less for the major averages at this point. Is that the dip you're talking about, or you think there's more overreaction potentially to come?
Overnight, it was actually, I think when futures opened, it was almost twice the decline. So the small caps were down 4, Nasdaq down over 3. It's good to see sort of markets are catching their breath. It's the second Monday shock, right? Last week was DeepSeek. Right. But I'd say actually it's almost a victory that if we open only down 1.5%, because I think there was quite a lot of panic over the weekend.
Yeah, look, the market to this point has kind of operated on the idea that this is a negotiation that's taking place, that these tariffs, if they are implemented, won't last for long. Is that your thought process as well still?
Yes, I'd say there's decent odds that, let's say we go 3 months out, that the tariffs will be rolled back because concessions were received. And there are also other mechanisms in place to sort of protect markets from the downside. I know people think this is an unlimited risk scenario for stocks, but if the tariffs come into play and other countries go into recession, those central banks will be easing, which will actually improve liquidity. So I'd say that as bad as things look, I do think there's downside protection.
What do you think our central bank will do in reaction to this? Because President Trump, a week and a half ago, or a week ago, weeks go by so quickly, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, said that he would like to see our central bank, along with other central banks, ease rates. Our central bank did not really seem to go along with that based on the numbers and the inflation data that they've seen.
Well, for the Fed, they'll have to tread carefully, because in the short term, would be an inflationary impact. Mm-hmm. It may not change inflation expectations, but it's going to be realized inflation. So I do think it makes sense for the Fed to actually tread carefully. But if I was a central banker in a country that got hit with tariffs and they're getting pushed into recession, of course they'd be easing.
I think the market looks at this and thinks, well, President Trump likes a strong stock market. He likes to see those numbers on a daily basis. And maybe there's this sense.
That's also false. No. Here's what Trump likes to see and wants to see in regards to the stock market. Anything within 10% drop for the S&P, he doesn't actually really care about. If we go over 10%, totally changes the game. That's when he starts really paying attention and starts also kind of freaking out, starts barking at the Fed and those sorts of things. So just keep that in mind. Less than a 10% fall in the S&P 500 from whatever the recent peak was, he doesn't actually care about that. More than 10%, that's when he starts to care. And overall, he wants to see a trend of obviously higher over time, right? But he has no problem, and I saw that in the first presidency, he has no problem if the market all of a sudden sells off 3, 5, 7, 8% in a quick amount of time. Like, nah, whatever. More than that, then we start to talk.
That he will not get too stringent with things if he thinks that there's a big impact in the market. Do you think that too?
Yes. I mean, I think ultimately the goal of the President Trump is to make the U.S. stronger, both companies and the economy. There may be some short-term pain, and it's hard to tell how much of this is an investment in improving U.S. competitive positioning. I think it is kind of a test of resilience right now, and the fact that we're only down 1.5 percentage points on pretty major universal tariffs is actually a sign of resilience.
A sign of resilience or a sign that we don't think it's going to continue? I guess that's my question.
It's hard to tell at the moment, but usually the market overreacts. So if this is the first reaction, I would probably guess that the second reaction is pulling back from some of that decline.
Can I just ask you, it's both a sort of a combination market meets policy meets politics moment, which is
700.
There's a sense in the market, I think, that this is some negotiation and something happens quickly. I don't know how quickly, though, we're talking about. And then the second order effect, not a second order, maybe first order effect is Americans like myself who love avocados. And right, when my avocado, I'm not joking. When the avocado costs, so much more than it did before, and not just avocados, but all this stuff that's going to happen in the supermarket. And I imagine
there are a lot of vegetables and fruits
in the next week, right? Like this is going to happen. And then the question is, what kind of political pressure there's going to actually be on President Trump when the American public starts saying, I'm at the supermarket and this is not working for me? Or do you think that the American public is going to say, I'm willing to accept this pain? I have my Super Bowl party. I'm at my Super Bowl party, but I can't have all this stuff. Is that going to be okay? Because I remember being on TikTok during the Biden administration when people would go on from the supermarket and, say that the world was coming to an end because, eggs cost what they cost. So what say you?
I do think Americans vote with their wallet. So if they're feeling the pain, just like when they feel pain at the pump, it does affect confidence. And I think if people are feeling in their wallet what they have to pay, and, many Americans actually don't have an ability to absorb all these huge costs. So I think you're going to feel the pain.
Do you think the companies absorb the pain? Or do you think, that's the other thing about inflation, which is sort of an interesting thing. There's been these moments where some companies have absorbed.
Yeah, but you got to understand, if Trump wants people to, if you have to pick when to take the pain, Trump would rather people feel the pain this year versus next year, right? Because then once we talk next year, then we're going to go into another election cycle, not presidential election cycle, but obviously the every 2-year election cycle. So, and also he's taken over for obviously Biden this year, right? So if anything goes wrong, he can kind of blame it on the previous administration. So if you're thinking about kind of the best way to play it, if people are going to feel pain, you'd rather feel it this year than 2026, certainly, right? Because that could definitely lose you some seats, come the next election there. So that's that.
Some companies have actually done the exact opposite. They have exacerbated the situation because they said, well, look, if everything's going up, we should actually
get ahead. They have to raise their costs.
We got to get ahead of this thing now.
That's right. Greedflation was, I think, a bigger problem before. I think there is a lot more pushback, and it's going to be tougher for companies to pass on prices. But I'd also, take some of the executive order at face value. You know, this isn't really about rewriting all of trade practices as much as it is trying to get Canada and Mexico to talk about the flow of illegal drugs and illicit chemicals, et cetera. So,
well, to be honest, he has to have that. He has to have a crisis at the border, because otherwise it is Congress's place to raise tariffs. If it's an emergency situation, then he can declare an executive order. He says Europe is going to be next. What's the emergency that we say is the reason that we're raising tariffs on Europe?
yeah, and maybe that's when the market will actually push back as well.
Oh, interesting. Thought by Tom Lee there, okay? Already, markets should take tariff threats more seriously.
Canada and China, as of now, are facing tariffs.
Yeah, I think the circumstances are different. You know, in these things, the technicalities are important, but the relationship is just as important. President Trump and President Sheinbaum has spoken in the past a couple of times before this morning, and there's been a good relationship. It's been cooperative. They both connected. So the fact that President Sheinbaum agreed to sending 10,000 troops to the border is a big concession. Military matters with the U.S. are very sensitive in Mexico. She used political capital to do that, but she made the decision. I think the relationship had a lot to do with it. Canada's a very different story. Prime Minister Joe has been combative. It's been a difficult relationship. My concern is that he has boxed himself into a corner to the point where if he shows willingness to cooperate, it'll look like he's backing down.
Right.
That's a problem.
And it's less clear, Dwardrick, what the Canadians can do to quickly assuage. Do they send 10,000 troops to the border?
Yeah, I think Secretary Gutierrez is right here. The brilliance of this call with Sheinbaum first is that in some ways it does box in Canada. But remember, Kelly, there's still the Chinese side here, and there's this case at the WTO. So in theory, Canada could sign on to that WTO case. Now, again, Trump is going to ignore the WTO, but it does send a strong signal for China and perhaps Canada if they sign on to the European Union, who loves following trade rules, who understand that what we're looking for are rational actors. And so you can still play the rational actor game in this process. But I do think that the Sheinbaum call really put Canada in a bind here early in this process. But this is the long game, Kelly, and countries are going to have to play chess in order to win this one.
They will. Dwardrick, I'm going to go back to you because we're showing our viewers, and if you're listening on your car, I'm sorry, you can't see anything. But the Dow is now positive. It's positive by 0.01%, basically one point, but it is.
Yeah, in Mexico, it's funny. Mexico's got a lot of if I was Mexico, I would play hardball. Because here's the thing. You want to put tariffs on all the fruit and vegetables? Okay. How are you going to replace that? You're not going to replace that. And your consumer is going to get hit hard, right? Like, you can't just magically, start producing all those crops in America. Like, it's completely unrealistic. And especially now that they're getting rid of the illegals. Oh, who's going to go work in those fields? You going to go work in those fields? Am I going to go work in those fields? I don't think so. So I think Mexico's got a lot of leverage that they should honestly, if I was leading Mexico, I'm just saying, they got a lot more leverage than I think a lot of countries. Because we're talking about, they sell a lot of needs-based things. A lot of the biggest beers are Mexican beers in America. Tequila? Oh my gosh, man. I'm telling you, Mexico's got a lot of leverage, man.
Positive, so the market
Wait till people can't afford their margaritas anymore. Oh boy.
is blowing off
the Modelo, the Corona.
News, or it believes these tariffs, maybe the China tariffs, by the way, layering on top of tariffs President Biden put on 9 months ago, I should point that out, that these tariffs are short-lived. What is your take on the markets?
Yeah, I've been very shocked by this. I saw the study that Steve released from our network here. And what they're not talking about is how long will the threat of tariffs last? So these may be short-term tariff events, but the threat, when you look at pattern recognition, we're going to live with these threats of tariffs for the rest of the Trump administration. And at some point, you run out of deal space, Brian. So, it may not be today, but I do think markets should take this more seriously than they're taking it. With respect to China, this was never the big one. China is waiting for the America First trade policy tariffs that may come into effect after April 1st. So I think the Chinese, going back to pattern recognition here, they're going to keep their powder dry. They know April 1st, there may be something bigger coming down the pipe.
Yeah, China just doesn't have as much leverage. Like, neither does Canada. Like, the one that has the most leverage out of everybody, believe it or not, is Mexico. 100%, and it's not even close in my opinion. I don't think Europe has a lot of leverage. China, Canada, Mexico's the one that, in my opinion, has so much leverage. I don't know if they realize how much leverage they have in this situation, but man, do they have a lot of leverage. Palantir.
From now, we are looking, of course, for a sharply lower open on the back of those tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. But let's talk some stocks,
right,
and one that we talk about often here, reporting earnings,
right.
Palantir.
Alex Karp, in an excellent interview last week with our own Sarah Eisen, talked about kind of just what a genius he is. That's okay. You're allowed to do that now. It's brand new. Notice this David Little head and shoulder, reverse head and shoulders developing. Okay, so he reports tonight. Now, we're hearing a lot about Doge and what Doge is doing.
Yes.
And one of the things they're trying to do is figure out how to do procurement in a cheaper way. Well, that is what Alex does. That's one of the look, they also do consumer products. I do not want him even more mad at me, but they are unbelievable at procurement. Now, this is up 307%. This is the ultimate meme stock. They won't even let it come down. At 4 o'clock, David, they were propping it up. It wasn't Samson. It was Prometheus. And I do think that when you see the quarter, you're going to hear some great verbiage from Alex, who I think might still curse. That's why he doesn't like me. In 2022, he cursed, and I pointed that out. And it stuck with me. And he also thinks I'm an idiot. That also hurts. But I will tell you that this is the one to watch because they're going to prop it up again. This is the ultimate retail name. He plays to them. He is, some people think he's a Pied Piper. I don't. I think he's the real deal. He's kind of a Musk when it comes to procurement, and he's got a lot of other things. You know, he did data. He's warped, some warp. Does a lot of things with Israel. Won't tell me what they are. Warped. He did the warp speed. He's the man behind.
Right.
He's the man behind that, and he's the man behind the curtain. And I do think that in the end, he's going to say things that you're going to make it so you want to buy the stock.
Okay, there you go. That's the conclusion.
Yeah.
All right.
I wish he didn't hate me, but you know what?
He doesn't. I don't know. I saw him when he was here for the interview with Sarah. Very nice greeting.
Really?
Got a little hug in.
I'm not you. See, that's different. I'm not. You think true. I'm you, and
no,
I'm
I don't.
not you.
But I kind of do think of us sometimes.
Okay.
Together.
Well, anyway, I wish him the best of luck. How about that?
Yeah. No, you're right. He hates you.
He does hate me.
Oh my gosh, that's brutal. Oh man, I didn't know it was like that. Dang, Karp really doesn't like Kramer. Holy smokers, that's no dang jokers. Anyways, I'll be covering certainly Palantir's earnings either here on the reaction channel or on the main channel. That's going to be a whole, oh my gosh, there's so much content I got going this week. There's so many earnings calls I'm going to have to listen to. It's going to be a busy week. So anyways, guys, appreciate you joining me as always. Thanks so much for being here. If you're looking to apply to join my private stock group, private wealth group, get access to all my best course curriculums, access to my private Discord chat, exclusive weekly videos, pin comment down there, click on that, fill out a form, see if we can get you access to all that at some point this week or maybe next week. Much love and have a great day.